AJ Media back again, yet again. Today I'm super hype, I'm super excited. The countdown clock is ticking. Sony has finally announced its A7S Mark III coming on July the 28th. And I'm not gonna name any names, but I am super thankful to a certain company for finally giving us what we've been waiting for almost 6 years. Thank you, Cayman. So with this camera coming out, it begs the question, is Sony finally good? Before we start this video, I want to give a quick shout out to the sponsor of this video, Undefeated Dreams. Undefeated Dreams is a Virginia-based clothing brand dedicated to helping people realize their undefeated dreams as long as they're willing to work hard for them. So if you like this shirt and want to see more of what they have to offer, go to undefeateddreamsclothing.com. Also guys, if you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe to this channel. That way you can be notified whenever I drop more dope content. As somebody who uses Sonys and who actually likes Sonys, I get a lot of backlash from people saying how awful and terrible Sony cameras are, how hard to operate they are. And I'm hoping that with the A7S III, we're kind of past that point and we're done with all of that. Because, you know, I'm kind of biased. I want to see Sony win. I want to see Sony be great. But I also have my own gripes and concerns with this new camera coming out, and, you know, some things that I just don't want to see in this new camera. So we're going to be going over that right now. First up, we have to talk about the biggest gripe that I have with Sony cameras, and that is the articulating screen, or lack thereof of an articulating screen. Come on, Sony. No articulating screen for somebody that uses cameras mainly for, you know, vlogging purposes and for YouTube videos. No articulating screen is, what's the word I'm looking for?
Blasphemy. Absolute blasphemy.
Yeah, that one. Have you ever tried to use a Sony camera to do YouTube? It's very frustrating. You have to buy an entire separate monitor in order to put on top of the Sony camera just to see if you're in frame and you're in focus. It's more unnecessary money that you have to spend just for a basic concept for a camera. You know, Sony has kind of tried to do some different things with screens, as seen with their Sony A5000 and their Sony RX100 series, where they put the screen on top, which on paper makes sense because if you put a monitor on the camera, you usually put it on the top anyway. But we forgot one crucial point, the mic. We usually put shotgun mics on the top of cameras as well, and if you do that with the way they had their flip-up screens, it's just going to get in the way of the screen unless you buy an entirely separate cage. That way you can mount the microphone to the side of the camera. Again, more unnecessary money, more unnecessary steps. A for effort though. However, there is some hope. Sony just came out with the ZV-1 vlogging camera, which has an articulating screen, a fully articulating screen, which means that Sony may be stepping out from their "this is the way it's always gonna be" mindset and started giving consumers what they actually need in order to start filming more efficiently. This, I hope, is a trend that continues to happen, because after this, there really is no excuse for not having a fully articulating screen on future Sony cameras. Next up is playing with our emotions. Sony is very good at teasing us every time they have an announcement. They shout, "Hey, we have an announcement," and then all the Sony users are like, A7S III, A7S III, A7. It's never the A7S III. We've gotten so many cameras, most of which we didn't ask for, some of which we've actually been very excited about. But in the back of our minds, we've always hoped that it was the A7S III. We got the A6400, we got the A6600, we got the A7R III, we got the A7R4 a couple months after that for whatever reason. We got the A9 II, which I don't think many people were even asking for, but we did not get the A7S III. So they were very good at teasing us with all these cameras and then getting our hopes up and then crushing us, like when we saw Simba's dad die for the first time. And the last thing that I cannot stand is the 30-minute record time. I hate the 30-minute record time. Freaking record. Why? Because, I mean, for things like this, it's fine. You know, 30 minutes, you're usually not doing, you know, talking head YouTube tutorial stuff for 30 minutes straight. But if you're doing something like weddings or interviews, which I do a lot of, that is not viable because those go well beyond 30 minutes. The worst thing that can happen in those situations is that something really good happens and you forgot that the camera has a 30-minute timer. It stops right before that thing happens. You forgot to press record again. You missed that shot. It'll never happen again. Please, Sony, stop with the 30-minute recording. The great news is that this camera boasts that it will not have a recording time and that it will not have an overheating issue. Again, not naming any names. All of these are things that we just don't want, Sony. Just stop it. We're putting our foot down. But it's not all bad. Sony's been making a lot of improvements to their products in order to make us happy. One of the things they're doing is having different lines for different types of shooters. So for example, Sony has the A7sIII line, which is pretty much for people who are just trying to get into the camera world and want to get into it through Sony, but don't need all the bells and whistles of the full frame cameras. You have the A7 line, which is pretty much for people who want to do both video and photographs and want to move into the entry-level professional camera gear and want to do that with Sony. They have the A7R line, which is pretty much geared towards photographers, and it's pretty good. It's a really great camera. It's a really great line because it boasts a high megapixel count, meaning that the A7R III, I think, was a 45 megapixel, and then the 4 was like a 60 megapixel. What this lets you do is that having a high megapixel count allows you to take photographs, and then if you wanted to zoom into those photographs or blow them up to bigger sizes, you'll still be able to retain all of that detail and information because all those megapixels are just working together to create a sharper image. They have the A7S line, which is pretty much geared towards videographers, and this boasts a low megapixel count, which doesn't sound as great after you hear about the high megapixel count, but it's actually really good for video because what it allows you to do is those megapixels are really big since there's so little of them. That means that you can retain high dynamic range in your videos as well as you have great low light performances, which is amazing for video. They even have the RX100 and the ZV-1 line. Those are for vloggers pretty much, or people who just want to document their day, document their adventure, their traveling, just a little quick thing. You can just pull out your bag real quick and flip it around on yourself and just interact with your fans, your followers, whatnot. They're pretty much creating a line for each kind of shooter. That way everybody can do their job well with one brand. Next up, this is probably one of the features that has saved my life so much, and I'm so glad that they included this and they started doing this. Sony for the last couple of years has been using double SD card slots in their cameras, and it's been working beautifully. A lot of other companies have been using dual card slots. However, it's kind of not the same, mainly because let's take the new Canon R5 for instance. Great camera, but uses a SD card slot and a CFast card slot, which it kind of needs to be able to shoot raw 8K. However, you're gonna pay for that card. That is not a cheap card. Whereas SD cards, $40 right now will get you about 128 gigabytes worth of card, them both into the camera. If you run out of storage in one card, you can automatically record to the other one. You don't have to stop, go back in your bag, try to find a card. Now you have 256 gigabytes instead of 128, and most people are not shooting 256 gigabytes worth of footage in a day. You pretty much have your day set as far as filming goes. Also, let's be honest, you sometimes just forget to dump your footage after a day. Come home, you're tired, you've been running around filming all day, and you just forget to dump your footage. Now the next day you go out, you don't want your card to be full. Wait, you got a spare. Bam! problem solved. Or you could do what I like to do and have each card designated to a specific task. So I have one card slot designated to video, one card slot designated to pictures, and that works really well because in post I don't have to like shuffle through picture and video. I know that this card is for picture, this card is for video. Which one am I editing? Pop that into the computer, edit that real quick, boop, slide that on, do the video. Sony is known for their low light capabilities. For me, that's very important because a lot of video that I shoot usually happens at night or when the sun is going down. Videography, concerts, just different events that's usually happening when the sun is going down, and I still want to be able to capture those moments. Now, this new camera that they're boasting, the A7S Mark III, boasts a 400,000 ISO, which is insane. A7 III that I'm shooting on right now, which many people regard as really good in low light, can only shoot half of that ISO. So this opens up a few possibilities. One, it means that you're able to get a brighter image with lesser noise and grain. It also means that you may be able to introduce more zoom lenses into the nighttime scene. This could really be a game changer. This could be the thing that brings people back to Sony because people love their zoom lenses. People love to use zoom lenses and they don't want to be limited by the sun all the time in order to use their zoom lenses. So being able to push your ISO up to higher numbers, to brighten your image, to be able to use your zoom lenses in different situations at night is going to be a major selling point. And last but not least, this is one of the things that I'm super excited about Sony's new camera, is the possibility that it could have S-Cinetone. Now, for the longest time, Sony has had this weird color issue especially with skin tones, where the skin tones have like a greenish tint or hue to them. But last year Sony came out with their cinema camera that has something called S-Cinetone, and basically what this did was it fixed all of Sony's skin tone color issues. Now, I'm really hoping that they implement this into the A7S III. My thing is that I don't think that they are making all of these strides and advancements and, you know, putting all of these fantastic and amazing abilities into all these other cameras, and they're not going to merge everything that works into their flagship camera that they're going to make a big release about. So to answer the question, is Sony good? My answer is yes. Sony is finally good, and it's getting better as long as they continue to listen to their customers and give them what they're asking for. And there you have it. If you have any questions, make sure to get at me.
Yeah, flex, I just wanna win. Yeah, LA BB, who we running with? Yeah, 2 2 3 3, I'm on 10 10 10. Yeah.